Hello, today I'm talking with Diego DiVerde from Greener Pastures Chicken. Hi, Diego.
How you doing, Jenny? Thank you for having me.
Welcome. We're really happy to talk to you. So tell me a little bit about Greener Pastures Chicken.
Sure. It's an incredible farm. To put it kind of in context, most chicken in our country is raised indoors. And these farm team does something very different. They have chickens in mobile coops on grass, and they move them to fresh grass every day. And on top of that, the land certified organic, the feed's organic. They have the most certifications in the country, so it's a really beloved farm here in Central Texas, and we started beyond Texas, so it's an exciting moment for us.
And what is your role with the company?
I'm the director of sales.
And are you reaching out to, do you sell in grocery stores or only online? What is your sales channel?
It's a mix. It's about equal parts food service and then retail, and then we also do a bit of institutions, and then we also do ship nationwide from our website. So it's a healthy mix, and I like to keep it that way.
So is the company a startup? How long have you been in existence?
Yeah, I think it definitely qualifies if you're going to be literal about the definition of a startup, right? They spent the first few years just really figuring out how to manage birds on grass. Birds have been on grass for millennia, but in a commercial context, this is very new. Again, if you think about it, all the chicken that everyone's ever used to has been raised indoors in a CAFO or confined animal feeding operation, right? So this is new because it's not even just managing the birds, it's also learning how to manage the land. And it's a pretty incredible system because moving the birds every day to fresh grass helps regenerate the soil and builds healthier soil over time. So it's given back to the land. We take really good care of our animals. One of our certifications is certified humane, and it ends up being this incredible product that's more nutritious, better texture, rich, clean flavor, and people just feel good, after eating it.
Talk about moving the animals to fresh grass every day.
Yes, it's very important as far as moving them to fresh grass every day because that helps regenerate the soil. We move them every day, another about 100 feet. And you need to give the land about 2 to 3 months to recover after that, but it comes back stronger. Basically, as a society or a culture, the way we produce food takes away from the soil for the most part. So we're on track to eventually run out of good soil and basically leave everyone with barren land. So that's in a bigger picture why this farm is so important and why other farms like it are important.
And is that the description of regenerative agriculture?
Yeah, so any kind of operation that's helping to regenerate the soil, so whether that's it's produce or livestock, we're in fact the only regenerative organic broiler farm in the United States. For that part of the world, really, and it's probably the hardest certification for any food producer to acquire is the regenerative organic certification. It's very rigorous, and it definitely challenges our farm team, but it's really neat to be part of this farm because I feel like as a whole, this particular industry is full of gaslighting and greenwashing and confusion. If you go to the store, I have a big competitor in California that will put this free range and pasture raised on the same label in retail, which are two totally different styles of farming, so it's just the same old thing that's been going on for decades. And this farm, fortunately, sticks to its values. And I think this year especially, we've seen incredible growth just by sticking to our values and all kinds of other like cultural and societal shifts that are happening, right? Mm-hmm. And I think because these guys have been doing it right the whole time, it's starting to really pay off.
I think what's interesting is if you go to your website, you can actually see the chickens, and you encourage people to come and see the operation, unlike more of the production or factory farms where I think people would be horrified if they saw how these animals are actually kept.
Right. Yeah, we one of our really fun customers we get to work with is the Houston Texans, and they participated in our documentary, and their director of wellness was pointing out, if your average person saw the inside of that operation that's responsible for producing your average chicken on your typical chicken sandwich, they probably wouldn't want to eat that chicken. And like you pointed out, they don't usually want you to see these things, because it's not appetizing. It's not humane. Basically, all the chicken that everyone's used to in the whole country or the whole world is really just a chicken just sitting in place for a little more than a month. And it's obese, it's unhealthy, it's got burns on its breasts and its feet from the ammonia. It's disgusting. And that's what everyone eats. So that's why we have, I think, this mission that's just very purpose driven. It could be easier to, like I was pointing out, trick some consumers into thinking they're getting something that they're actually not, or to cut a corner, which a lot of our competitors do. But thankfully, we have a team that's really dedicated to offering the best.
You have some star power behind your founders. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So the one of the co-founders is behind me. That guy Vaughn. He was studying poultry science in college when he was playing college football, and he used to fall asleep in class. He took a poultry science class thinking it'd be an easy A. And the professor in that class made him wake up, stand up, and then go talk about chicken in front of the whole class, and really pushed him, to really consider his studies, because football, I think the average career in football is maybe 3 years, right? So I think he was doing good by him to just make sure he had a backup, and once Vaughn got a big football deal, then he started this farm. Spent about 3 or 4 years just figuring out how to handle the operation, and I'd say went to market really starting maybe 2021 is, I'm technically the first salesperson. So I'd say that's probably when we started really hitting the market.
So you've seen a lot of growth if you were there from the very beginning almost, right?
Yeah, it's been very startling. I was there when there was just like 2 people working on the farm. We had no processing plant. We had no distributors, just a few, like less than a handful of chefs who had, just appreciated how much better this chicken is than your average chicken and would, use it in their restaurants. But in a few short years, it's just really exploded. It's thanks to this incredible farm team. They work really hard to make this happen. Like I mentioned, your average chicken is just like an indoor operation that takes maybe one person to manage like 40,000 birds. And we do need a lot more staff, to take care of the birds and the grass. And then even when they're babies, we do have a brooder set up, to keep them warm and healthy until they're mature enough to go to the grass. But the farm team works really hard to make this a reality.
Such a great story. So are you using any technology at all in the company?
Sure. So the way we make this work is we have floorless mobile coops that give the birds access to the grass, but we also have electricity set up all over the field, and we take a tractor and we pull the mobile coop another 100 feet to the next stop, get electricity going, because inside the mobile coops, you've got automated augers, you got automated water lines, and electricity, just give them some light if they need some light. And then obviously we can roll up the shades on the side as well. We want them to get natural sunlight, but we've basically taken the technology from your typical confined animal feeding operation and loop that in and designed it within the construct of a mobile coop. And then I'd also want to call out definitely our processing plant. Because most chicken here is usually a big mass production, there's not really processing systems that fit our market. And keep in mind, we're creating this market, right? Right now, there is no chicken on grass that's also organic at the moment. So we are literally driving and creating this particular market. So we had to bring in equipment from Europe, because they have the food standards. And, if you think about Europe, there's thousands of chemicals that they don't allow into their food system that in America is okay, and I think a lot of people are starting to really come around to it. But that's why we had to bring in a totally different processing plant. I think we're pretty much coming up on capacity at the plant here in the near future. So it's a really exciting moment for the farm.
Do you think this form of agriculture is scalable?
Yeah, I feel like we're proving it. It definitely takes a lot of attention to detail, and the processing is a really important bottleneck. But yeah, absolutely. Because we have a pretty healthy mix as far as our customer base, retail and food service and institutions, plus, our website direct to consumer, where we're not over leveraged to any one big customer. And I would recommend also any other similar, farms with similar values like us to try and fight to do that, because that's the way I think you're going to be able to scale at a healthy clip.
What about franchising out to other states or other people that are interested, like maybe licensing the technology or the process? Is that something the company has thought about?
I don't think that's really on our radar in the near future. It is good for us to be based here in Texas for a lot of reasons, and then being able to ship, being sent in the center of the country, right? I think maybe in the future, if it made sense to have an operation closer to a big market, like for example, we broke into the California market. If that really takes off, maybe that could make sense, but I can't really speak to that. It's really just focus on Texas for the near future as far as like production. We have other contract growers that have the same production style that we have, and that helps us meet the numbers we need as far as demand.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges you see going forward?
It's a good question. The toughest one has definitely been institutions. It's frustrating, like we get to work with top chefs. We work with a quarter of the Michelin star chefs here in Texas. We work with incredible athletes, beyond just the ownership group. We work with a pro football team here. We're talking to the pro soccer team. Also, there's another a pro hockey team. But institutions, I feel like, is where the biggest impact would happen. Like if schools, hospitals, where our kind of product would really mean something, because especially in schools, they're used to having such low-grade food in their cafeterias. I feel like there's definitely a confirmed connection between nutrition and mental health. And I think that starts in the schools, and really enforcing that and educating the kids on what they're eating. Try to be proactive in that sense. We created a campaign called Bring a Chicken to School, which is what it sounds like. Literally, we set up a lunch with a local school, and then we bring one of our birds from the farm. There's just like this, there's always a really outrageous, fun reaction from the kids. They like to name the chicken, but they break through that kind of mystery about like, how did my food even get to the plate? And I think that's the only way they're going to make better decisions about eating, taking better care of themselves, is if they really have a full understanding and appreciation for where their food came from, as opposed to it being, there's so many ultra processed foods and other food ingredients that you can't pronounce in our food system, and I think it would be wise to try to avoid as much of that as possible.
It sounds like a lot of your job is education as well as just selling and trying to get into new customers. It's educating the customer in the value proposition for the product.
Absolutely. Yes. No. And because I'm always up front, it's not the cheapest chicken, but it's absolutely the best chicken. People don't win Michelin stars by accident, right? That was really neat. Gratifying moment for our farm, because I'd spent years here in Austin promoting the farm, trying to grow it, and you'd get those excuses. It's too expensive, but my job is definitely, education first, to help them understand the value they're putting on the plate or on their menu or in their content to drive traffic, to their restaurants or retail outlets, So, and especially to the point about regenerative that we were talking about earlier. It's just such a relatively new concept, regenerative agriculture, whether it's, again, livestock or produce. I think that could be a really big solution as a society, help. There's a lot of problems, right? Here, there's a lot of great things, but I think figuring out how to take really good care of the land to ensure we can produce more great food in the future. It's no joke that if we keep on this track of mass production and taking away really good high quality soil, there just won't be any good land to farm from in the future.
Words of wisdom would you give someone who is trying to build a business that is changing really the mindset, or changing the way things are done, changing the hearts and minds, which is very different than, having the next new shiny object? You've got to change the way people think. That's the job you're doing. What words of wisdom could you give someone who's in a similar position?
That's a great question. I think, at the end of the day, to drive the results you're looking for, you got to figure out what your story is. And there's a million ways to tell that story, but that's the only way you're going to, I think, find those results. Again, it would be easier for us to cut corners, to offer a cheaper product and to make those excuses. But we've made a pretty strong effort to get that story out in a bunch of different forms, whether it's short form. We do a lot of content. If you do a really brief brand audit about our farm, you can find all kinds of different ways that we tell our story. We've been producing a documentary for a couple of years, really figuring out your story in a way that's authentic to you and not something that just would sound nice to everybody, but really figuring that out, and everything from there should roll, whether it's the marketing or your sales language. But that's the only way you're really going to get anybody past what they're already used to. If that's kind of the question you're asking, is like, if it's a challenge for anyone who's trying to make a shift or change the way things are being done. And also having people around you that you trust, no yes people, right? It's easy to just go along with the way things have been done. And I commend the farm team and everyone supporting the farm team for going this route, because it is really starting to pay off. Because I'd heard those excuses for years, it's just too expensive, but I think there's just an incredible amount of value on the other side, whether it's the value to the land, teaching and promoting good animal welfare, the nutritional value. For example, the Houston Texans, they buy our products not because they're friends with our owners, but our chicken has 17 times the level of antioxidants as your typical indoor chicken. So people who are like gym rats are big into their health and wellness. They're counting their calories, and they're being very mindful what they're putting in. And we bring something that totally ticks those boxes.
So authenticity, storytelling, leveraging the existing channels. You mentioned you're on social media, documentaries. I think your website tells a great story, and you actually see the operation, you see the people that are working in it, which to me is it's very refreshing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think having a good grasp of your story, and again, just figuring out how to tell it in a way that's authentic. And I know that might sound kind of broad or general, but I mean, especially in a situation where you're trying to break through or do something that people aren't doing at the moment, you have to really stand out. I think we live in a time of information overload, and it's maybe getting worse with AI, and people are just hit with more and more messages every day. So you've got to stand out more than ever, I think, and you got to consider everything.
Well, Diego, this has been a real pleasure to learn about Greener Pastures Chicken, and I'm rooting for you to scale the company so that I can get your chicken in our market here, because I do believe that the food quality is really important, and the industrial farms that we have are troubling at best. I wish you all the luck in the future. I really appreciate the conversation.
Amazing. Thank you for having us, Jenny. I really appreciate you giving us some time to share the story about our farm, and just giving us this time and space.
Thank you.
Take care.